Okay, Rabbi Isai, let's do it. Let's have some fun. Okay, this week we're going to be doing the sugya of being the Kovod due for Kohanim, and if we have time, the concept of when Kohanim are allowed to or not allowed to, which scenarios, be mitama lemesim. So Tumah's kohen, but first we're starting with the idea of Kovod Kohanim. Now this year is Lezchus, Refua, Shelaima, Yonaton, Eitan, Hakohen, Ben, Batsheva, Bracha, a cousin of mine who needs a Refua Shelaima. So inspiration for the shiur on the Kovod due to Kohanim. Okay, so the pasuk in Vayikra, and Vayikra Chaf Aleph, pasuk Ches says, "V'kidashta ki eslechem eleikecha hu makriv kodesh lecha ki kadosh ani Hashem mekadshchem." That's what I read here. Guess I wrote that right. Okay, so the idea is, as we know, V'kidashta, the famous pasuk of V'kidashta. What do we learn out from this pasuk of V'kidashta? The kohen is supposed to be holy. You should make the kohen holy. What do we learn from that? So the one din that we definitely learn is if a kohen is over the issur of marrying a grusha, then we Bezdin, we take him out from that, and we may have to take him out of the marriage, separate him from this grusha wife. V'kidashta, we have to keep him holy that he is not married to a grusha. Okay.
The person forced him to leave his wife?
Correct. Midrabanan, that's a din deraisa. Midrabanan, we revoke his kohen privileges. So we're going to discuss as we go on the privileges that a kohen gets. But if a kohen marries a grusha, or similarly, if he's mitama lemesim without any just cause, he just he doesn't value his kahuna, so to speak. So then we take away his kohanic privileges. So could he ever get it back? So if he stops his ways and he makes a neder al das rabim, whatever exactly that means, that he's no longer going to be mitama lemesim, or he will no longer be married, live with this grusha, then he could get his privileges back.
This is what type of beis din talking about?
What type of beis din? I'm saying nowadays we don't have the koyach, that we don't do this. Nowadays we don't separate,
Sanhedrin, what was the beis din?
not necessarily Sanhedrin. It's whenever beis din was, times even within Galus that it's been around where beis din was in control, not much times, small tkufas. But for the most times, we live in a society where beis din doesn't control those things. You could decide to go to beis din for monetary matters, is pretty much what we have nowadays. But if we're at a time where beis din runs the show, then beis din would force this guy to separate from his grusha wife. Fine. Now, the more well-known limud from the pasuk of V'kidashta is this idea of giving some form of kovod, some form of honor to the Kohanim. The Rambam says this idea of giving kovod to the Kohanim is a din deraisa from the pasuk of V'kidashta. However, Tosfos and the Torah hold it is a din derabanan. I guess V'kidashta is some form of a smachta, but it's a din derabanan. Lefi Tosfos and the Torah that we give kovod to Kohanim. The Mishnah Berurah, based on the Magen Avram, says that we treat this idea of being mechabed kohanim, we treat it as a din deraisa. So as far as we're concerned, we're going to give it the halachical status of a din deraisa. Now, what is included in this idea of being mechabed kohanim? So Rashi, b'shem the Sifra, says 3 things that we do to the kohen in order to be mechabed him. The 3 things are liftoach rishon, he starts first. He opens first. We'll see what that means in a second. Mivarech rishon, he gives the first bracha. And mana rishon, he gets the first portion. Let's understand what that means. So leftoach rishon, he opens up first. What is that referring to? So the one thing that's for sure referring to is the kohen has the right. He's the first one that gets to speak. By the Sheva brachos, there's going to be 4 speakers. Who's first? The kohen. The kohen is the first one to speak. That's actually, let's see how we paskin, a din deraisa, that the kohen is the first one who gets to speak. Now, the Rambam says that getting the first aliyah is included in this din. So not only the first one to speak at the Sheva Brachas, or by the way, l'chayr in a business meeting. If there's a structure to the business meeting, it might be different. But if there's a business meeting and everybody's meant to speak their mind, the kohen should speak his mind first. Now, if the Rambam says getting the first aliyah is included in this din, and l'ftoyach rishon, the kohen gets the first aliyah din deraisa. However, most do not understand it that way, because in the Pashas of the Gemara is not like this. It seems like it's a takana. The Gemara really calls it a takana of nedarch shalom, that the kohen gets the first aliyah. Tzarech in exactly how the Rambam understands that Gemara once he says it's a din deraisa, but l'maisa most understand it's a din derabanan. Fine. So we all know that the kohen gets the first aliyah. Now, there's a concept that the kohen could be mekel on his kovod, and we're going to discuss soon whether he is, whether he isn't, etc. But when it comes to the first aliyah, roiv poskim hold, and almost everybody holds, the kohen cannot be mekel. Because since, once again, as we just said, that it is a takana, once it's a takana d'Rabbanan that the kohen gets first, and this is going to create shalom, you can't say, I don't want shalom, I'm meichel. No, it's a takana that the kohen should get first, so the kohen gets first, and it can't be mekel. Now, what if, I know what you're going to ask, I'll get to it in a second. What if there's, let's say, Monday, Thursday, and you have two chasanim, who are both Yisraelim, or you have two people that have yahrzeit, who are both Yisraelim, and you need to give them both aliyahs. What do? Is there an eitzah? So, Zok the Maram Shik. The Maram Shik says you could ask the kohen to leave, and once the kohen leaves, now you could call up the Yisrael, because there is no kohen here, or the Kohanim to leave, and Memela, you call everybody up, and now there will be plenty of opportunity for them each to get an aliyah. However, and the Teretz Chaim, the Igros Moshe, Ramosha, the Minchas Yitzchak, they all allow this to be done. However, many poskim say this cannot be done on a regular basis. You could do this when it happens. You have the double bar mitzvah, the double chasanim, the double yahrzeit or whatever it is. So, okay, we'll allow this. But you can't make this part of the normal seder that you always ask the kohen to leave. That's wrong. But as a once-in-a-while scenario, it would be okay. The Chazon Ish and Rav Yashaber and others were very opposed to this. There's a seder in Tefillah, there's a seder in Kriyas HaTorah. First aliyah kohen connected the Kohanim Klal Yisrael, Levi connected the Leviim Klal Yisrael, Yisrael connected the Yisraelim. You can't just leave people out like that. This is not cool. They do not allow it. Now, it's not mefurish what the Mishnah Berurah holds on this. What does the Mishnah Berurah hold? So I think I have a raya that the Mishnah Berurah is not cool with this. Why? It's not a raya, it's not mochrach. But here's how it goes. There's, in this scenario, when you have two chasanim, for example, so the Ramah says, what you should do is add on aliyah. Have 4 aliyahs that Monday, 4 aliyahs that Thursday. The male will each have aliyah, it's not a problem. The Mishnah Berurah says b'shem the achronim that is not the minhag. Our minhag is Monday, Thursday, we don't add on 3 v'zehu, and that's it. We don't add any extras, and that's how the Mishnah Berurah ends. Now you might say, okay, so you see the Mishnah Berurah didn't say, tell the kohen to leave. Now you might want to say there's like a newfound chap. However, there's a later Shulchan Aruch, Ramah actually, that's discussing on a fast day. Let's say on a fast day you're only supposed to give a aliyah of a chal. It's talking about the laning of fast days. You only give it to somebody fasting. Now, what if there's one kohen there and he's not fasting? So the Ramah says he should leave. Tell the kohen who's not fasting to leave, and we'll call up somebody else, a Yisrael, in his place. Now, and the Mishnah Berurah goes on and explains that, and he works with that. And he doesn't argue with that. So we see that it was on the Mishnah Berurah's radar, the concept and the possibility of the kohen leaving. And nevertheless, when he says the minhag is not like the Ramah to add on a 4th aliyah, he doesn't pipe in and say, therefore ask the Kohen to leave. So I think there is a raya that the Mishnah Berurah isn't happy with this asking a Kohen to leave. But this is what you call a non-mukhrach raya. You could explain that over there he was just working with the Ramah, and over here he's working with the Ramah. And he's not coming in to spill his own chedushim and own ideas. He's just telling you that what the Ramah suggested is not good. It doesn't prove that he holds you can't tell the Kohen to leave, but it's I think it's a little bit of a raya, not a complete raya. Okay. But Lamaisa, as I said, we have poskim that allow it. The poskim are quicker to allow it on a Monday and Thursday when you need those two very important aliyahs than when you have a bar mitzvah. And listen, we have Uncle Shelaima, Uncle David, Uncle Aaron, Uncle Simcha, Uncle Yankee, and we want to give them all aliyahs along with the four brothers of the bar mitzvah boy. So, we just need all 8 aliyahs for everybody that came in, but it's not such a tremendous need like 2 chasanim, so the poskim aren't as cool with doing this. But once again, there is, it's not out of the question, it could be done, but it's not as pashut. Okay. There's also an idea. So, what about who goes first for Aliyah? Let's say you have a kohen or you have a talmid chacham. Who should go first, the kohen or the talmid chacham? So we actually, interestingly enough, have a Gemara that says that Rav Huna, who was not a kohen, took the first Aliyah even though Rav Ami and Rav Asi were there, and they were Kohanim. And it's not even like a matchup like kohen versus like super Amaretz. This is like kohen big talmid chacham versus kohen big talmid chacham, but maybe not quite as big, And Rav Huna took the first Aliyah. So it sounds from there like talmid chacham goes first. However, we see that the Rambam in Peres Mishayis says that kohen goes first. And once again, from the Gemara, it sounded like kohen goes first. That was the takana. I don't know the timing of the takana. I was wondering if maybe that story with Rav Huna could have been before the takana. However, it sounded like a chiddush even in that Gemara that Rav Huna was going before Rav Ami and Rav Asi. I'm not exactly sure how to play that. Okay, but Lamaisa we see Rav Huna did it, but the Rambam says in Peres Mishayis that the kohen goes first. He does quote, there was a minhag in Italy that the talmid chacham would go first, but the Rambam wasn't so happy with that minhag. But we see such a minhag did exist. Lamaisa, the Shulchan Aruch paskins that we say kohen goes first. So we give the aliyah to the kohen before the talmid chacham. Oh, I forgot to mention the raya for the tzad to say that the talmid chacham should go first is the Mishnah in Idiots discusses. You have 2 people drowning. Who do you save? A whole list of who's the order of Hatzalah, who should be saved first. And it says a mamzer talmid chacham goes before a kohen amaretz in who you're going to save. You only have one tube to throw to this guy drowning or that guy drowning. Who do you throw it to? So the Mishnah in Idiots says you throw it to the mamzer talmid chacham before the kohen amaretz. I know this may not be politically correct, but it's a Mishnah and it doesn't need to be. Okay, so Lamaisa, that's how we go. Now, if you have there's something key for a gabbai to keep in mind. So we're saying we're going kohen first, but let's say you have a no kohen there. If you have no kohen there and you're giving the aliyah to somebody, the gabbai should be makbid to give that aliyah to the talmid chacham. Don't give that to the Uncle Joe who's coming, whatever. You give that to the talmid chacham. He gets the first aliyah. If you don't have a kohen, you give it to the talmid chacham. And even the third aliyah on Shabbos, l'cha'ira, should go to the talmid chacham. There is definitely an inyan to give that aliyah to talmid chacham. That's the starting aliyah. The starting aliyah should go to the talmid chacham more than random whoever who happens to be here. Give him chamishi. Fine.
If you have 2 kohanim, obviously give the kohen talmid chacham before the...
If everything else is equal. Once again, there's a minhag in shuls, which is the accepted minhag in Klal Yisrael, that you do some element of rotation. You don't give the talmid chacham kohen every week, and the average Joe kohen never gets. So, the minhag in Klal Yisrael is to work at some rotation, but once you're giving, and these are the 5 people that you're going to be giving your aliyahs to this week, you should give that first aliyah, should go to the Talmid Chacham. Okay. Now, let's go weiter. So, the second thing that we said is the kohein is mevarech rishon. So one of the things that we said, the kohen, he has the right of mevarech rishon, the first bracha. What is this referring to? So Rashi explains that he's the first choice of who's going to make kiddush or who's going to bench. Who's going to lead the benching, or who's going to make kiddush for everyone. He is the first choice, or who's going to make kiddush first or for everyone, depending on however you do it. He is the first choice, the kohen. The Rama adds that making hamaitzi, he's the first choice for the one who's going to make hamaitzi and be mitzi everybody with hamaitzi. The kohen is the first choice. The Pri Megadim says he's the first choice for who's going to be the chazan, who's going to daven for the amid, who are you going to give the kovod of davening for the amid. First choice is to give it to the kohen. Now there are places that it's hard to get somebody to daven for the amid. If that's a scenario, then this obviously doesn't apply. But if you're in a place where everybody wants to daven for the amid, you give it to the kohen as first choice. But once again, I think the minhag in Klal Yisrael is to spread the wealth, so to speak. There are exceptions to this. So the Mishnah Berurah says that when it comes to hamaitzi, the one who's going to give out the challah, so the Baal Habayis goes first, even if he's not a kohen. So you have a kohen guest. No, the Baal Habayis is going to go first. He knows how much to give out to everybody. He's going to be generous giving it out to everybody. The Mishnah Berurah. The Sharetzian there says benching as well. The Baal Habayis has first dibs on benching. Now by hamaitzi and benching, a Talmid Chacham goes before a kohen hamaretz. Even though when it came to the first aliyah, we gave preference to the kohen hamaretz over the Talmid Chacham when it came to the first aliyah, but when it comes to benching and kiddush and making hamaitzi, there we give the preference to the Talmid Chacham. Now, what if you have a small Talmid Chacham, so to speak, versus a medium Talmid Chacham? So it's best for the small Talmid Chacham to go before the medium Talmid Chacham. Sorry, I said that wrong. Small Talmid Chacham kohen before medium Talmid Chacham Yisrael. But that's not an absolute chiyuv, but that's the right thing to do, so to speak. Fine. Now, one thing that's a little complicated is it seems like from these sugyas we have two categories: Talmid Chacham and Amoritz. Now, I don't know exactly, practically, how we qualify where's the cutoff point? Who is who and what is what? I don't know. First of all, I have 2 questions. Is this a pure Torah knowledge point? There's some barometer, or is it maybe society-based? In this society, to qualify as Talmid Chacham, you need this bar. But in that society, you need that bar to qualify as Talmid Chacham. It's for sure true, in Yerushalayim, we need a higher bar to qualify as a Talmid Chacham than some other places. Louisiana, thank you for being nicer than me. Then you have a higher, the bar is much higher in Yerushalayim than Louisiana. So tzarichin exactly, I don't know the answer of how to qualify who is a Talmid Chacham and who is not. Fine. Very good. Now, the Mishnah Berurah points out that when one benches who's not the Talmid Chacham, let's say, who's not the kohen, let's say he's the Talmid Chacham, or we're going to discuss soon a kohen being Michael, whatever, so you should say B'Rishus HaKohen. But the Mishnah Berurah points out, you shouldn't just bench and say B'Rishus Kohen, B'Rishus Kohanim. You should actually ask them for Rishus. Don't lie. I know the minhag is to lie, but you really shouldn't lie. And you should actually ask the kohen who's present for his Rishus before. Yeah. You're stating that I'm doing it with Rishus. Now, there is a little bit of explanation. You're giving the kohen the chance to object. When you say Rishus Kohen, if he's not cool with it, he's going to say, no. The problem is, I've never seen that happen. So if I've never seen it happen, and it would be socially awkward for a kohen to start screaming, wait a second, I don't give you Rishus. That would be socially awkward. So therefore, it's hard to believe that that's really considered that the kohen gave you Rishus. It's a difficult argument. So therefore, new chiddush, you should tell the truth, and you should ask the kohen for Rishus before you claim that you have his Rishus. Okay. Next din is that the kohen receives mana rishon. He receives the first portion. What does that mean? So simply speaking, when you bring food to the table, so you bring the tray. First, you go to the kohen, let him get his first pick. Which piece of deli roll do you like the best? Give him first choice. It's a din deraisa. The kohen gets mana rishon. Easy din. Easy to keep. We should keep it. Okay. Rashi says that it also includes, let's say you have a partnership that's breaking apart. They're splitting the asset. And they split it equally. The kohen chooses what gets first. I had an interesting shayla that I was thinking about. If you have a developer, right? And he's giving out the parking spots and the machsanim. Does he have to go and ask the kohen to give him the first choice of which parking spot and which machsan he wants? It would sound like he does. I don't know. It sounds like he does. Unless there's when you buy al das the law or something. I don't know. But simply speaking, it sounds like you would.
When you shiur and God lining up for them, the Kohen should get
Yeah, 100%. The Kohanim should get first. And it's a very good example. Yeshiva by lunch, the Kohanim should get first. They should get mana rishon. It seems to be a din deraisa. L'chayra. Okay. Let's go weiter. Besides the positive dins, one more thing also I want to point out before I do that. As we said, the kohen is not allowed to be meichel by the aliyah to give it to Yisrael if he stays in the room. I wanted to point out actually there is a kaf HaChaim, which I realized now that I missed before. The kaf HaChaim says that you don't have to tell the kohen to leave. If everybody there understands what's going on, okay, there's two chasanim. That's why the kohen's not getting aliyah. You don't have to tell him to leave if everybody gets what's going on. L'maisa, I don't think the minig is like this kaf HaChaim. I think if we're not going to give the kohen the aliyah, I think we ask him to leave. Okay, so as we were saying, by aliyahs, the kohen can't be meichel, right? But when it comes to making the bracha first, getting the mana rishon, when it comes to being the first speaker at the Sheva brachas, there we say the kohen is allowed to be meichel. Okay. Now the Ramah sneaks in at the end in the Shulchan Aruch at the end of Orach Chaim Kuf Chav Ches Memhei Sif Memhei. So this is like a very easy one for the non-Kohanic crew to miss this Ramah. There's a siman Kuf Chav Ches which is all about duchening. It's very hard for Yisrael to be able to go through that whole siman. Everybody should, but we know your secret's safe with me. We know that you kind of skip through that one. So maybe you're at the beginning of each sif. So it's 45 sifim, you know what I'm saying? And by the last sif, which is talking about duchening, in middle, last line, the Ramah switches topics and throws in there this din that besides the positive things that you have to do for a kohen, there is also, besides that positive also, there's some things that you're not allowed to do with the kohen. You're not allowed to use the service of a kohen. And he says even nowadays, you're not allowed to use the service of the kohen because it's like mi'ila behektish. You making use of a kohen is like mi'ila behektish, even nowadays, unless he's meichel. So then that last line, the Ramah flips it in. People for sure missed that one. So you're not allowed to use a kohen. What does that mean? So this is apparently based on a Yerushalmi in Brachos, that you're not allowed to use the services of a kohen. Now, the Goyis Maimonides asked a question on this. There's a Gemara that discusses a kohen eved ivri. If you can't use the services of a kohen, how in the world are you going to get a kohen eved ivri? How can you have a kohen eved ivri if you can't use the services of a kohen? What is he going to do for you? You can't use him. 3 terutzim. The first teretz is the Sefer Makna, who says the Gemara is talking where the owner is a kohen. A Yisrael can have a eved who's a kohen, but a kohen can have an eved who's a kohen. That's the answer to the Sefer Makna. The Mordechai, he has a different answer. He says a kohen is allowed to be meichel on his Kovod. And this case of the Eved is talking about where the Kohen was meichel on his Kovod. And you see, by the way, the Ramah is paskin like this, because the Ramah threw in those last couple of words. You're not allowed to use the Kohen if he's not meichel. You can make the diak that if the Kohen is meichel, you could use the services. It's like
if your electrician's a Kohen.
Ah, correct. And that may be more of a heter. We'll see in a second. The smag, he says, Sefer Mitzvahs Gedolos, he says it's okay if you pay him. If you pay the Kohen, then it's allowed. You're not using the Kohen. There's a fair value exchange here. I'm paying him. That's not using him, and that is allowed. Now, the Mishnah Berurah says a Kohen is allowed to be meichel, like the Mordechai, like the second explanation. And I said that, and I just showed it was hidden in the Ramah. But the Mishnah Berurah says mefurish, if the Kohen is meichel, you're allowed to use the service. You're allowed to use the services. The yesh misha imrim, referring to the Taz, that he can only be meichel if he's getting paid. So the base din is we're allowed to rely on just mechila, just the Mordechai. However, the yesh misha imrim, the Taz, says you need two factors. You need the Mordechai and the smag. You need it to be meichel and getting paid. Or it has to be another benefit. It doesn't need to be paid in money. It's just, somehow it's beneficial for the kohen, then that is okay. And the Mishnah Berurah says it's good to be machmer like the Yesh Mishayim, like this Taz. However, the Iker din is you just need mechila, but it's good to be machmer to have mechila and payment. However, you shouldn't use a kohen for shimush shel bizayin, even if he's meichel. So if it's a bizayin usage, then it's a problem. You shouldn't use him even if he's meichel. Shelaima Zalman says a kohen shouldn't lechatchila enter a profession where he's going to be asked to do services of bizayin. However, if he degrading work. However, if he is in that business, then you're allowed to use the services.
Like a plumber or something.
Like a plumber. Yeah, I'm going to discuss in a second exactly my example. The Be'er Hativ says that many don't hire a kohen as a waiter. And I'm just going to throw in a little bit off topic, but the Be'er Hativ throws this in, and I thought it was interesting. The Be'er Hativ also says that a Amma Aretz shouldn't marry a Bas Kohen. Which, Tzarkin, why exactly that is, it seems to be like you shouldn't marry out of your league. If you're a Talmud Chacham, you can marry a Bas Kohen. But if you're Amma Aretz, then you shouldn't marry a Bas Kohen. The problem with this, the challenge, is if this girl is fitting for an Amma Aretz, if the Bas Kohen is fitting for Amma Aretz, it's a little bit of a problem. Tzarkin. Okay. So let's put all these things clearly, because I just said a lot of things, but I just want to get this clear. So you shouldn't ask a kohen to somebody shouldn't ask a kohen to serve him. Now, if the kohen is meichel, you're allowed to have the kohen serve you. However, lechatchila, you should only rely on having the kohen serve you if you're paying him as well. Now, if the kohen is getting benefit, is getting paid, there's no reason for chumrah. However, you still should not have a kohen do a shimish of bizayin. Now, you mean we can't pay a kohen to do a shimish shel bizayin. But if that, and he shouldn't go into the bizayin, a degrading occupation. But if the kohen is in a degrading occupation, you can use his services. So you can't ask your kohen friend. Your kohen friend is more handy than you, stronger than you. You can't ask him, could you come help me plunge my toilet? You can't ask the kohen to do that. Now, I was thinking...
Throw out the garbage.
Huh?
Throw out the garbage.
Throw out the garbage. The question is throwing out the garbage a shimush shel bizayin? So, some people, I don't know, for me, I just don't feel like it's such a big deal. But I do hear people talking about that as an example of being a shimush shel bizayin. I don't... As long as I agree if it's like an overflowing garbage, a dripping garbage, or whatever. I don't know, regular dry garbage, I don't know. It's been really smelly, maybe, But like a regular normal garbage, I don't know. To me, it doesn't like. But all right, maybe you shouldn't ask the kohen. I know people talk about this example. I just don't. To me, it doesn't feel like such a bizayin. So, what is considered an occupation of bizayin? So, how about a plumber? Is a plumber occupation of bizayin? Now, I guess so. There is one part of me that says, listen, you're earning a respectable living, you're a skilled person, you're doing a skilled job, you're getting paid for your skill. That's respectable. But I do hear why many people will think that that's a degrading occupation. And therefore, l'chayra, it has a din of occupation of bizayin, and you shouldn't have Kohen plumbing. But if there is Kohen plumbing, you could use them. But if you're Kohen, you shouldn't go into Kohen plumbing. Okay, l'chayra. What about? But I'm not. I do think I'm not 100% on it. I see that this guy has a skilled. He's a skilled laborer, But I understand why people will call it bizayin. Okay. Yeah.
So the only bizarre is like unblocking a toilet. That's
Yeah.
But running pops for a building is like I'm saying.
Correct. Now, what do you think? I should get into this in a second. L'chvoi, two of my listeners. So, what if I want to get a kohen to go fix my air conditioner? Yeah, but it's gonna be like a dirty job fixing the air conditioner. It's stuffed up. He's gonna spray it. There's gonna be dirty stuff coming in. It's not so clean. Or I want to get the kohen to do some fix-up stuff in my house, fix my trissim. Could I go and ask the kohen to fix my air conditioner? And he's gonna get all his pants all dirty fixing my air conditioner. Could I do that? So I was thinking like this. I think in Eretz Yisrael, these blue-collar jobs are not considered bizayin. It's completely normal for a completely regular, representable, solid person in the community to be, getting a little dirty fixing air conditioners. And that's for sure, in my opinion, the way I see it, for sure not a shemesh shel bizayin. I think it's perfectly fine. However, let's think about it for a second in America, Chutz La'aretz. There is some element where a blue-collar worker is viewed in not such a positive light, especially if he has to get a little bit dirty. You ask a fancy lady from, we'll leave it blank, a fancy lady from wherever it is, who's a wealthy lady, do you want your kid to go into, fixing air conditioners and he'll make a lot of money? Let's say you can make a lot of money. Nah, that's not our type, our family. Yeah. I know you want to throw up. Okay, fine, but it exists. There's people that view it that way. But I think Lamaisa, it's still not a shemesh shel bizayin, even in a place like that. There is a tzad to say such, but I think in Eretz Yisrael for sure not. I think in America there is a tzad, but I think Lamaisa, I think it's still okay. You guys agree with my argushas? Fine. Fine. The Eishal Avram and the Aruch HaShulchan, they say if the kohen offers his services, you're allowed to use them. You shouldn't ask the kohen to do this. But if he goes and offers, you could use them. Now, can you ask a kohen katan to do his service for you? Hey, little kohanchik, could you go and take out my garbage? Right? Are you allowed to go, kohanchik, could you go to the makola to buy me some milk? Yeah? So the Magen Avraham says we learn the din from avoida, and the kohen is possible for avoida, and if a kohen is possible for avoida, so therefore this din doesn't apply to him either, and therefore you're allowed to a katan. I said, what did I say? Kohen. Sorry, a kohen katan. This din will not apply to him. However, Rav Akiva Eger says no. Let's think about it for a second. We know a kohen bal mum, you're chayvin b'mechabedim. Is a kohen bal mum kosher for avoida? No, but you're still chayav in kovod. So therefore, you're chayav in a katan as well. Now, one could deflect Rabbi Akiva Eger's proof pretty easily. The Lamdanim here are going to say that there's a lamdish shechilak between a adult bal mum, kohen bal mum, and a katan. a kohen balmum is somebody who be'etzim could do the avodah, but there's something else that is stopping him. There's a siba and a counter siba. There's a reason that he could do it, and there's something else that's saying he can't do it. A chiyuv and a pator, Whereas a katan is not even a bar chiyuv. There's not even a siba, there's not even a cause for him to be able to do the avodah. And therefore it's fundamentally different. And therefore you could use that to deflect Rabbi Akiva Eiger's raya. If you got that, great. If not, don't worry, it's okay. Okay, next. Can a kohen get services from another kohen? Yeah. So based off the Sefer HaMachna that we discussed earlier, then yes, a kohen can get services from the kohen. But there were two other answers there for a reason. Right? So there are achronim that say you're machmer, and a kohen cannot get services from another kohen. Lemaisa, the Bir Halacha says you should be machmir by a shimush sel bezayin. So by bezayin dika matzav, you should not use another kohen, but a general service you could. So think about this, very interesting. You can't ask, the kohen can't go call his brother to help him plunge the toilet. Because you can't use another kohen for a service of bezayin. Very interesting. Okay. As I said earlier, a kohen that marries a grusha or is mitama without reason, he loses his schus of getting kovod. A general kohen bal avera, who's not those specific averas, he didn't marry a grusha, and he doesn't specifically mitama, but he's a real bal avera. I don't think it means a guy that speaks lashon hara a little bit. I think it means somebody who lives his life as a bal avera. So what about him? Does he get kovod? So the Pri Megadim says, you're still chayav to him kovod. It's a mitzias. He's a kohen, he gets kovod. However, the Kaf HaChaim and the Minchas Chinuch say you're not chayav to give him kovod. I think the reason is they're not a mecha. You're supposed to give kovod within your people. Somebody, the habitual avera is not somebody that is a mecha and he's not deserving of kovod.
So you're not allowed to give him the first aliyah? What happened?
That's a very good question. I mean, without getting involved with the general shayla of the real Baal Avera, whether he should get aliyah, but assuming that he should get aliyah, does he not get the kohen? Was that included? Or maybe, I don't know, I'll make an argument that he still gets the first aliyah. I would have to check up the svarim and not just where I saw them quoted to try to find the answer. But the argument could be made, the individual kovod is because my individual chiyuv to them. Whereas the first aliyah is based on a general takana. Maybe when it's based on a general takana, which is for darchei shalom, it's not specifically to help that specific kohen. It's to create a seder in darchei shalom in the shul. I would assume he still gets the aliyah. But I can't say with certainty, but that's what I would assume. Okay. Kohen amaretz. What about a kohen amaretz? Does he get kovod? So the Bir Halacha says that some are mater to use him for services, general services, but not for bezayin. But it seems to be it's undecided, so to speak. I think the minhag is that we treat the amaretz like a regular kohen. Is there a mitzvah to learn the shach, who's a kohen, before the taz? You're learning a sugya. It happens all the time. They're going in the same divrei mas, same words, shach and taz. Is there a chiyuv to learn the shach, who's a kohen, before the taz? So Rabbi Yitzchak Chaim Zonnefeld says no, it doesn't apply after death. You no longer have a chiyuv of being mechavid after death. Some say no, because it only applies in person. The shach and taz aren't here, so therefore you can learn whichever one first you want. Interesting question. Lemaisa. This is a nice share and all, but why aren't people makbid on this? Lemaisa people are not so makbid on this. Why not? So the Magen Avraham suggests, because they don't know about it, but why is it that people don't know about it? The first aliyah in shul, people don't know about it. Maybe they know when they bench to say the word Bereshus Kohanim, but not much more than that. So the Magen Avraham suggests that nowadays, Kohanim, perhaps is the reason. Kohanim, their yichus is kind of questionable. And if their yichus is kind of questionable, so maybe the olam's not so makbid on these halachos. The Aruch HaShulchan says, no. You can't even say such a thing. You can't even say such a thing. And the Maisa we see the Ramah clearly did not hold the Svara. The Ramah clearly hold you for our Kohanim, you have to treat them with respect. And I don't know how big of a decrease in yichus there's been from the time of the Ramah to the time of the Magen Avram. I'm not sure how bad, there was some time there. I don't know if the yichus got so much worse in that time frame. And the Mishnah Berurah therefore says not to rely on this Magen Avram. We don't take into account this Magen Avram. And Lamaisa, you see that we clearly don't give this Magen Avram much value, because as we have by Pidyon Haben, we tell a kohen to go and make brachas when he's doing the Pidyon Haben, and we tell the kohen to go and to take money. Yeah, Berchus Kohanim. We're doing brachas all the time, Berchus Kohanim, money, taking money, all these things. So you see that we obviously treat the Kohanim like absolute Kohanim. So why don't people keep it? Because they don't keep it. It seems like they haven't been keeping this for a long time. That's one thing that we could see. Sometimes there's this trend that continues for hundreds of years without the best reason. We know it's been going on at least since the Magen Avram. Now, let's go on for a minute to Tumah Kohanim. So Tumah Kohanim, there's a kohen, there's an issur in the Torah. A kohen is not allowed to be mitama mesim, except for his 7 relatives that he is allowed to be mitama for. Now, Tumah Meis is the actual dead body, is the aviyah v'isatoma. To touch it or be in the oil of the mace is only that makes you a avatoma. It goes from aviyavos to avatoma and so on. It goes down further. Now, the Ravid says, what about somebody who's already tamei? Could he be mitama? Is there an issue? If the kohen's tar, I understand this is a deraisa. What if the kohen's already tamei? Is there an issur for him to further his tumah? The same level. Is there an issur for him to further it, that level of tumah? So the Rambam says yes, it's assur. The Ravid says no. The Ravid says you're allowed to be once you were mitama once. What's the big deal? So once, let's say this kohen went to his close relatives' cemetery.
Once you're tamei, you become tamei again. Yeah.
No, once again, if we had the paraduma, good. When a kohen is tamei mace, the only way to get rid of Tumah mace is with the paraduma. So if we had the paraduma, he became tar. So for him to become tamei again, that would be a problem. But it's like the Ravid, once he was mitama once. However that happened, he was once once in his building, somebody died. Whatever it was, something happened. So then it already happened, and once it happens, you're there. There's nothing more to happen, and therefore, there's no issur in being mitama again. The Rambam says there is an issur to be mitama again. Now it happens. The Rosh, he brings the Rabbeinu Tam, who says like the Ravid. The Smag says like the Ravid. The Lechem Mishnah proves that it's Shitas Rashi like the Ravid. However, apparently, according to most of the Rishonim, go like the Rambam, that the issur continues. But we definitely have opinions on both sides. Now, the Shulchan Aruch paskins like the Rambam, that a kohen, even though he's mitama once, he cannot be mitama again. Now, let's talk about Eretz Yisrael for a second. Eretz Yisrael, the hospitals have a sign by the door which tells the Kohanim whether they could go in or whether they're not allowed to go in. Right? You go to Shari Tzedek or Adasa and Kerem, these hospitals. I don't know if it's all hospitals, but definitely the ones that are very focused on from people. I'm guessing it's all of them, but I don't actually know if that's true. I'm too much not a kohen to have ever paid attention to that. So they have a sign in the front telling Kohanim could they go through. Let me ask you a question. All hospitals of decent size always have a dead body in the hospital. It's just a mitzias. You go to a place like Shari Tzedek or Hadassah and Kerem, there's always going to be a dead body in the hospital. If there's, these hospitals have 40, 60 babies are born a day. I don't know how many people die a day, but a good amount. That there's always going to be a dead body there. That's statistically. So a place like Shari Tzedek, for example, the way that they do it is that the Tumah can only leave by either an open door or from the room that's in. It leaves via open door or it leaves through a closed door if that's the way that it's going to leave the premises. So if you go to, let's say, the morgue of Shari Tzedek, so they are going to have the back exit is where they're going to, they don't take out money. They don't take out the mason through the front door. It's not very good for business. So it's not very good for morale of patients to take the mason through the front door. So they have a back exit that they take the mason out from. So that morgue has a back exit, which is not the way that they come in. The way that they come in, they have a double door system. So there's a closed door. The door opens, you go into a hallway, and the second set of doors can only open after the first set of doors already closed behind the mace. So there's never an open door to the rest of the hospital. And the door that they're leaving is through a different door. So therefore, the mason that are in the morgue are not going to be matam of the hospital. So they have a chap, how they worked it out. However, there's mason that die in the actual hospital. So when mason die in the actual hospital, they put the ashar l'kohanim, that kohanim should not enter the building.
Once in the building,
So once they're in the building, we'll see. It might be if you close the door, it might help a little bit. We'll see in a minute. Maybe they should run out when the ashar l'kohanim shows up.
Locked himself in the bathroom or something?
Huh?
I have a cousin who locked himself in the bathroom. He was a Kohen or something?
Yeah, it could. Yeah.
For like hours?
Hours? I don't know. Okay, maybe. So, vaping in the hospital. Okay, fine. Very good. So, so what do you do here? So when the light is off, ashar l'kohanim, it means there's no mason in the general area. When the light goes on, there is mason. Now let's say a very, very common case. Sometimes a kohen needs to go into the hospital. Sometimes when you go to be mevakar cholim, the kohen wants to go to be mevakar cholim, whether he should or shouldn't, probably shouldn't. But let's say he decides to go to be mevakar cholim, and the ashar light is off, and he wants to quickly run in and take his chances. Rav Shlomo Zalman is not a very big fan of this concept, and he says don't do it. But whatever, maybe you'll find somebody who says it's okay, right? But what if he shows up and his father is sick, and his father's been in the hospital for 2 weeks? So the guy needs to visit his father. And especially, let's say you're chutznik or whatever, you're the only kid in Eretz Yisrael. You have to visit your father in the hospital, but you show up, ashar l'kohanim. What do? Or you have elective surgery. Obviously, if you're going yourself and it's p'kuv nefesh, you're sick, or even if it's safek p'kuv nefesh or whatever, you could obviously be taken in as a patient. But let's say you show up for elective surgery. This surgery does not need to be done, or it's certainly not emergency. It has to be done sometime in the next 5 years. I have to do it. So why not? I'll do it today. So you waited 4 months for the surgery. You show up, the kohen shows up for the surgery, and they have to sign ashar l'kohanim. And this is his slot. If he doesn't go now, he's going to have to wait another 4 months for the next slot. Could he go into the hospital? Is there a heter? So we saw already that there is a sheet of the Ravid, which we did not paskin like. Right? Is there anything else to work with? He was already matama probably. Most Kohanim were already matama sometimes in their life. So the Tumah that goes from cheder to cheder, if you're in the same cheder as the mace, that's Tumah deraisa. Tumah transferring from one cheder to another cheder, from one room to the other room, the shach holds it's the rabbanon. And Tumah that's going to go through doors, based on the concept of that it's, as we said, if that's the door that it's leaving, so it's going to go through the doors, that Tumah, according to the shach, is also derabanan. The Magen Avram, however, holds that it's deraisa. So many people follow the Magen Avram. Many people follow the Magen Avram. Many follow the shach. There's no clear achra on that. Now, another point. So the sign says that it's ashar l'Kohanim. Is the sign accurate? Now, there's sometimes they turn it on. They don't necessarily always turn it off the second that the guy. There is sometimes some in between time. And I heard Rav Asher Weiss say that they turn on the sign for the goyim that die in the hospital as well. There's all sorts of anti-discrimination issues, and you can't just turn on the sign for Jews and not for goyim. First of all, sometimes it can be confusing. You don't know exactly. And secondly, you can't start. The world's crazy with the discrimination, whatever. Somebody dies, they flip the light on. So there is a degree of suffix there. So now once I say it's suffix, there's a concept. Suffix Tumah b'Reshus Harabim is tar. The hospital is considered Reshus Harabim. And if there's a suffix where there's a Tumah in the Reshus Harabim, we view the place as tar. And therefore, maybe there's what to rely on for the guy to go there. However, the problem is there's a different concept of suffix issur l'chumrah. For the kohen himself, for him to be suffix over an issur, that you have to go l'chumrah. So how do you view it? Do you put the suffix on the place? The place is suffix tumah b'Reshus Harabim, the mela you're okay, or do you put the focus on the kohen? It's a suffix issur for him, and therefore he has to. So l'maisa the minchas chinuch was in suffix how to view it. Rav Chaim Oizer was machmir to treat it like it's a suffix issur for the kohen, and he wouldn't be allowed to. L'maisa, based on what we just said, and there's another concept that a kohen is allowed. We know that a kohen is allowed to be metama d'Rabbanan. We see the concept of Beis HaPras and Tumas Amim. We allow a kohen to be metama d'Rabbanan for getting married, puravu. Right? It's a Gemara in Avodah Zarah. So does that apply specifically to that mitzvah, or does it apply to any mitzvah? So the Ram and the She'eltis say it applies to every mitzvah. So whereas Tosfos says it's only those mitzvahs. So we see there's a lot of different. There's probably d'Rabbanan, cheder. There's an element of suffix that you might, when you go into the hospital, you might bump into the suffix d'Oraisa. You might walk into the wrong room, the wrong area, the wrong section, the wrong whatever. But usually I assume the elective surgery areas are less. But if you're visiting your father's intensive care, that might be a little bit more of a chashash that you're going to run into actual mace. Now, l'maisa, this is the type of thing you cannot say ahead. This is the type of, there's a shayla to ask. It's obviously going to be dependent on the degree of tzarech and the pasuk you ask, and in terms of whether you would get a heter to go into the hospital in that scenario. Let's just think of any important points because it's already getting late. Just one thing, Kohanim have the anhaga that they're machmir not to be metama for goyim either. We're not metama for goyim either. It's not. It's more of a chumrah, but it's like an accepted chumrah to not be metayim. We consider the goyim to be metama. Yeah. Once again, it's not an ikar adin, but it's a pretty accepted chumrah. And what other interesting points do we have? Rabbi Shas therefore says goyish hospitals, it's roiv goyim, and for tzarech gadol you're allowed to go because it's something that we're makbid on. But when it comes to tzarech gadol, you could go. There's the shayla of the airplane. I'm just going to say quickly because we're running out of time. So airplane, could a kohen go in a plane that might have a mace in the bottom? So the question is the top of the plane considered oil? If the top of a plane is considered oil, it's going to trap the tumah in the plane. Bad news for the kohen. Or do we say that the tumah goes straight through the top of the airplane? Because the top of the airplane is primarily metal, and tumah goes straight through metal. So how do we view it? So there's a whole tugya concept of oil, zark, is it shmei oil, loy shmei oil. It's a big hak, it's lots of fun, and therefore that's why it's a shayla. Another interesting shayla is, let's say you're a kohen driving in a car, and you see 4 cars in front of you is the Chevra Kadisha van, and you're going down Betzal, and you say, he's going straight under the tunnel. could you go under the tunnel with the Chevra Kadisha? Once again, the Chevra Kadisha van is not going. It's a metal top, so the tunnel's going to go straight through. So could you go? That's a suffix. You don't know whether there's a, let's face it. The guy from the Chevra Kadisha goes to Osherad with that van too. Some people might view it as whatever, but that's what happens. Let's face it. So the Maisa, you should at that point, if it's safe, you should make the right turn and not go under the tunnel with the Chevra Kadisha van. But you don't have to not go into tunnels because maybe a Chevra Kadisha van will show up. That's already too weit. And one more thing, just Kivrei Tzadikim is a little bit of a hack whether a kohen is allowed to go to Kivrei Tzadikim. The Pash is certainly not. The Mishnah Berurah was very not into Kohanim going to Kivrei Tzadikim. He was very opposed to it. There are different people that said it's okay. I mean, there's a Gemara that seems to be mashma that it's okay. There's different rebbes that do go to that are Kohanim. Tolas Aaron, Tolas Avram Yitzchak. I don't remember which one. There's one of them machlekes in between them. They're both Kohanim. One of them does go. One of them goes on the road to Meron, but doesn't go to the caver. The other one goes to the caver, but won't go on the general road to Meron. I don't remember. Yerushalmi hak. Good for the Zupnik Mikvah, you know what I mean? And Lemaisa, I'll tell you something that's a evil heter. You want to hear evil heter to go to the caver of the Rashbi? So I heard an evil heter. Because, you go to the caver Rashbi for Shachris sometimes. You go there, Davin Shachris there. And all of a sudden, there's Duchening. And you're like, how does that work? Because there are people doing this. So I heard an evil heter. The evil heter is, who says Rishon Baruch is buried there? We don't have we don't know for sure. The Arizal came and said Rishon Baruch is buried there. We don't know for sure that he's buried there. So Mamela, what's the problem?
Buried there, deep down, there's a hollow.
We don't know. You're saying even if they are buried there, but I think that's a pretty evil heter because the Kohen's going to daven there. Come on. But maybe it's a little evil, but maybe. And shkeich for listening. A lot more to say on this, but we're out of time. And I'll see you guys again next week.